Good morning, friends and enemies. Today, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite topic, and that is monetization. Monetization as it relates to the creator economy, but more specifically for creators or brands that have very large follower counts, subscriber counts, but really struggle to actually make money, to convert that into money. And from what I've found in my, 10-ish years of kind of operating in the creator economy space, there are three reasons why, or three pitfalls why, that I think almost every instance of this large follower count not making money kind of fall into. And I'm going to go through those three reasons, those mistakes, and how to refresh your point of view on making money, or maybe redirecting the type of content you are making in order to actually accomplish a goal. And I think it's important to kind of take a step back and look at where the creator economy is as a whole. And it's funny because if you look at the regular economy as a whole, especially in the US, like we've hit a point of insane inflation, nowhere more so than in New York City where I live, and everything is incredibly overpriced and it's very expensive to live here. But your mindset shifts because of that, right? You see these high prices and it hits you in reality. Whereas I don't think anyone looks at the creator economy and accounts for inflation. And what I mean by that is if you had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube 8 years ago, that was insane. That was massive. And the opportunity that you had was immense. And it was quite easy to get rich off of that type of follower account. And I still think on YouTube specifically, it's the same. However, so many creators have shifted their style of content, or the new generation of creators coming up have done so through not long form video, but through TikTok and Instagram Reel and YouTube Shorts. Everybody has 50,000 followers on TikTok. Everybody has grown their Instagram account. Everybody can start a YouTube Shorts account tomorrow and get to 6 figures of follower counts. But we have not shifted the way of thinking in terms of inflation, because it's so much easier, because the cost of living, or because the barrier of entry to get to these numbers has gotten so easy. We need to start realizing, and a lot of people who have grown these follower accounts kind of act in a way that's entitled, or when they don't make money, they're questioning why. And it makes them start to make bad decisions because of it. So in a day and age when it's really easy to get to 50,000 or 100,000, I don't want to take away from people's hard work, but it's a million times easier now than it was 10 years ago. The bar to now get paid is higher. You have to be better. 100,000 followers doesn't earn you anything. I'm not saying it can't. A YouTube channel, even a TikTok account with 100,000 followers can go a very, 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 very long way. But I'm here to talk about why it might not, and the most common pitfalls of why it does not convert. So when I look at followers, for the most part, from like a business standpoint, they fall into one of 4 quadrants, right? You have creators with big followings that make a lot of money. You have creators with big followings that don't make a lot of money, creators with small followings that make a lot of money, and you have creators with small followings that don't make a lot of money. So like the beginning creator, and every creator kind of falls into one of those 4 quadrants, and then maybe overlapping 1 or 2 other quadrants at the same time. And why I think I have a unique angle or point of view to bring to this discussion is because I think I've fallen into all of these quadrants at one point or another. When you start, of course, you're going to have a small following with small monetization. I started making videos on YouTube around 2014, 2015. I think I put in about 3-4 years work. At that time, I was able to leave my job. And then a few months later, I was able to make a full-time salary, a full-time income based off of being a creator. So 2017, 2018, I was about 23, 24 years old, left the corporate job. But at that same time, I only had about 10 to 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was able to turn that into a full-time salary. It was around, I think, like 65, 70K, which was fucking incredible. And I was like, holy shit, this thing that I love doing, this thing that I'm passionate about, I'm now making as much money through my corporate job as I am doing this. The following year, the money ended up ballooning up, and it was multiple 6 figures. So I was a small follower count with large income coming in. Now, as our brand has grown, right, as BDG has kind of become more than just me, I've gone from making informational videos on YouTube about fantasy football to having a really large TikTok channel that focuses more on the entertainment value of things. So I've seen the different sectors of value, how it leads to growth, how you can monetize each value prop, and the right way to go about it. So now we're going to jump into the 3 mistakes that I see that, again, 99% of creators who have large followings that are struggling to monetize fall into, and then we'll break each one down. The first is straight up, you've built a following through trash content. And when I say trash content, any of the following falls into that category. Repurposed, so unoriginal content, trend content, clickbait content, anything that is posted for the sake of getting vanity numbers, for the sake of getting views and getting shitty comments, don't accomplish any sort of business goals. That is one. And that is a ton of people on the platforms today. Mistake number 2, the actual product or service or whatever you're trying to sell to your audience does not actually align with the value prop that you give your audience in your content, okay? And that might sound like a lot of buzzwords, a little bit confusing, but I'll get into that one in depth because I think that's a really, really important one. And I think understanding that mistake specifically will help you be able to unlock that small follower count, large monetization quadrant. And number 3 is that you're simply not trying. Like, you have a large follower account, but you are not monetizing because you're not going out there and getting it, you know? And I don't even mean it from a lazy standpoint. I mean it from a lack of experience standpoint, not knowing what to do, not knowing the next steps, not knowing who to reach out to, not knowing what product or service to sell or who to work with, things like that. I think most people assume you get a big follower account, the money follows, which honestly, in my experience, is not even close to the truth. While it's the case sometimes, you know, people who do hit that like virality bump and then all the brands start coming to them, that is such a small percentage of people that hit that. So again, while it's the case sometimes, it's often not. You have to go out and get it. So I would say every brand or creator with a large following that struggles to monetize does fall into one of those 3 categories. So let's dive into each of those 3 categories here. Mistake number 1, you're posting unoriginal, repurposed content from other accounts, content other people have made, and that's your strategy to grow. This was the DM I got this week on Instagram. It was, why does BDG not have a Twitter account posting sports clips and all sports related content? Seems like that would be a great way to get more brand recognition as well as collecting easy engagement. That is the quintessential TikTok mindset here. I replied easy, and I did it on my phone. So I said, I did like a slash, but it fucking ended up giving him a face, the emoji, whatever. Said easy does not equal good. I meant easy brand recognition, easy engagement does not equal good. I'm assuming you've thought about doing it before. What downsides make you decide not to do it? True, but not necessarily. Brand awareness recognition would be the main reason. If I'm posting football clips, that gives us no brand awareness. People don't care where that came from. They see a clip and they're not like, oh, BDGE provided this to me. This clip is now so much better. It gives our brand no awareness. It gives our brand no recognition other than being like, this is a brand that reposts clips. That is not how I want to be viewed on social media. That is not how I want to be viewed in the audience member's mind. Taste matters. We could easily go out there and post clips of Derrick Henry stiff-arming dudes into their fucking coffin every Sunday. Maybe build a following or more of a following from that. But I guarantee you that follower count will mean literally nothing when you try to get them to take action. When you want to move them to other types of content, when you want them to purchase something, it won't work. And this is an incredibly popular way to operate in today's sports media age. Like, you look at Bleacher Report, ESPN, Game Day, like they all do the same thing. They all just repost clips of shit. And they all have really big follower counts. And you might be saying, wow, Nick, look at their accounts. They have millions of followers. It works. It will work for legacy media companies with a huge bankroll. It will not work for individual creators over the long run. ESPN has a $1 billion TV deal for people to run commercials and get sponsorships on SportsCenter and all their other shows that they run on their network daily. With the money they make off that, they can now hire a social media team of 5, 15, 25 people with salaries ranging, I don't know, anywhere from 40K entry level to 140, 170K. Those people produce all this unoriginal content, all these highlights, and it gets them a follower count, but it does not convert to any money. There is no profit from that. But they can do it because they're making a shitload of money from other avenues. And then what they do is now they can upsell those numbers. So when an advertiser comes and they say, hey, I want to advertise on ESPN, ESPN can now say, well, if you look across all of our platforms, if you look across TV and you look across streaming and you look across social media, we have 100 million people that tune into our content daily. So it's a way for them to include those hyped up numbers in these advertising deals. And some poor schmuck from Coca-Cola is going to say, ooh, those numbers look good. Let me invest $10 million into this ad campaign. And that simply is just not the world that individual creators can live in. It's not relatable, and you can't do that. So when I think about the modern day creator that does some style of this content, it's like street interviewers, right? And there's some of them that are really good. Some of them that I think are original. Some of them that I think are really funny. And I think they do deserve the clout that they get. There are a lot of people that literally cannot think of an original question in 100 pieces of content that they make. They ask the same question over and over again. They take a question that other street interviewers do, and they think that because it's popular for them, it's going to help them monetize. In recent years, TikTokers have gotten a little bit lucky because the TikTok creator platform has actually paid out a lot of money for content over a minute long. They do not allow you to monetize any unoriginal content, however. But when you make content that is not around who you are as a person, around you giving value to the audience, you personally, the audience is not going to give a shit when then you try to sell them something. They're just going to be pissed that you interrupted your already brain dead content. If you just go on TikTok right now, of the first 10 posts that you swipe on, like 6 of them are going to be brain dead content that has no originality to it. Like this guy, this was like the first thing I saw when I went on TikTok. 34,000 likes, probably has 300,000 views. In my mind, that's the lamest shit I've ever seen. Originality and taste based and having your own original thoughts has always been rewarded and will always be rewarded in human history. Where everyone is doing the same thing, if you can create your own original thoughts, if you can create your own original content, if you could add value to content that's already popular, it will go really far. Trends are another huge pitfall for creators, and more particularly if your content is centered around trends. Most people fall back on trends because, again, they can't have their own original thoughts. Like, they don't have something to offer. Maybe it's their personality or their thoughts or their whatever it is not valuable enough to the audience, so they fall back on popular trends. And when I talk about this, I'm not even just talking about, like, you know, the dancing trends on TikTok. That is one form of this shit. It could be a skit that you copied. It could be a voiceover. It could be a certain type of, you know, content or game people make that you do, but you add nothing of value to it. And you might grow because the trend is popular. The tide is rising, so your boat automatically rises. But your content running through that is not a long-term game plan. If you build this way, you're building through other people's originality. Regardless of how many followers you have, you will have the same number of customers as when you start. That's just a massive mistake. You're building your follower count through empty views, through trends, through other people's successful content, through clickbait, through engagement farming. All of that stuff will fall through the floor over the long run. When I'm speaking to people on this channel, I'm specifically speaking to people, creators that want to be around for the long run. Yes, you could sign a sponsorship deal or two in the short term, a month, 6 months, a year, but I promise you they're not going to stay for long, because eventually always the real numbers expose themselves. These companies will come to you, see these fake engagement numbers, and then when they start running the actual campaign for themselves, they're going to see, oh, you don't convert at all. They're not going to renew with you, and your shit's going to run dry. Just because you have a following does not mean you have a business, does not mean you have a loyal audience, does not mean that people care about you, and it certainly does not mean that you're entitled to anything. When I look at that kid who was writing dumb shit on his basketball things, adding no sort of value to his actual content, it's just like engagement farming. If you were to ask me right now if I were to start with his account or a brand new account tomorrow, even if he had 500,000 followers, I would start a brand new account, no questions asked. You need to be able to add some sort of value to it. And when I talk about value, how do you add value? We're going to jump into mistake number 2, because I think that just kind of spearheads right into it. When I look at value, value comes in one of 3 ways as a creator. You can give value to the audience in one of 3 ways. You can give it through information. You're simply informing someone of something that they don't know about or they want to know more about. You are teaching them about a specific topic. Value prop number 2 is through entertainment. Most people think of entertainment as like making them laugh, but making them feel any types of way is entertainment, right? Making them feel happy, making them laugh, making them cry, making them sad, making them feel any sorts of way is a form of entertainment. And then the last value prop would be motivation. Just getting motherfuckers inspired. So you have information, entertainment, and motivation. And almost all value, for the most part, any video will fall into one of these 3, depending on the audience member, right? Like I'm here, I think I'm teaching you. I would say 99.9% of this video, the value that hopefully you get from it is information. Some of you guys might think I'm funny. Some of you guys might think I'm funny looking. So maybe we get that entertainment number up to 10%. But most pieces of content are some influx of 1, 2, or 3 of those overlaps. So mistake number 2, to repeat it, the way that you're trying to make money or what you're selling does not align to your value prop, because a specific product or service or software or brand partnership, if it does not align with the value prop, your entertainment, your information, or your motivation, it won't sell. It is really important to understand what type of value you're giving to the audience. And a lot of the times, if you are an informational channel, that shit is very clear cut. Like, you're out there because you're really passionate about a subject and you want to teach people about it, right? That's very easy to understand. Where I think the lines get blurred is the entertainment portion of this. This is where like the TikTok era has really blurred the lines here, because most people confuse entertainment with giving people dopamine hits, and differentiating the 2 matters. So let's get into different monetization types based on the value that you are given. So information, I think you're in the best position to monetize. There are so many different ways to monetize if you have built a following through informational value. You look at what have I been teaching them, and you want to take that and you want to productize that information. So you can do this through any sort of e-product. That could be a PDF, that could be a booklet, that could be a Notion template. Anything that is an e-product will work very well. One other piece of advice I would give you is, more often than not, you give a bunch of value, you teach something to somebody, and if they're going to buy a product from you based on that teaching, they're not always looking for more teaching. They're not always looking for like, okay, you taught me this, but I know in your product, you actually have more to teach me. You have better information that you're like keeping secret, that you're keeping hidden. People actually pay for organization and aesthetics of the thing that you are teaching because that saves them time. Rather than having to go find through thousands of hours of video content the most important pieces, your product, what you should be selling in an e-product, is organizing in a much tighter, condensed version all of the best stuff that you have been teaching all along. So that's really important. You could have the e-product, you can have a membership, right? People can sign up for a membership. And I think with memberships, one thing you should think about is what you're offering could be some sort of access to you, right? It could be one-on-one, it could be groups, it could be 30 people, it could be a private call weekly, it could be a private call monthly, depending on what your schedule is. For instance, for our membership that we do during the regular NFL season for our fantasy football content, members get access to our rankings. I also do a weekly private live stream every Saturday answering questions for those members. So a membership could be access to you. And I think that's something that a lot of people do. It's like a form of consulting or classes, right? And that's another kind of e-product that you can have where you're offering people access to you every week, bi-weekly, every month. And the reason that this works is people like your content and they learn from you. However, they came to your content because they're having a specific problem in their life at that moment. And they want you, who has just taught them something about that problem, to fix their specific problem. So if they can get access to you, they can now give you more context about their problem and have you answer based on that context. That's why access is so important. People will pay for access because they want help with a very specific problem that they have that you're not answering directly through your content. In the membership, you could offer an extra piece of content per week. It's not something that I really specifically do. Even that private live stream ends up going public afterwards as almost like a marketing tool for more people to sign up to get access to that live stream while it's happening in real time. Some people do an extra episode a week or whatever. I typically like to make sure that all of my content goes out on public to everyone kind of at masses because that's the number one way to continue to get more people down the funnel is just to have them see your content. So I don't like it being specifically behind paywall, but that's something you could do. As far as setting up a membership, you could do that through WordPress. You could do that on Patreon. You could do that through a website called Gumroad. All of those things work. And you could strictly just do consulting. Like you could set up a calendar on Calendly and link that with Stripe and have people pay for your time. That's something that like I might consider doing with this channel, right? Like I might have more people off the top of my head. I don't know that I have a specific like product that I would want to make for this audience, but I bet there are people, creators or brands or companies or businesses that might want to pick my brain about this topic. So I could say, hey, if you want 30 minutes of my time, you could set it up on Calendly, whatever, and maybe some people will be willing to pay for it. I don't fucking know. You could sell a course. You could put together a 10-lesson course, this course or that course. It obviously has to be evergreen content, and the topic that you're talking about, if it changes all the time, like if I made a course about fantasy football, it'd be really difficult because players are changing, injuries happen, things happen all the time, where unless you really believe in a specific strategy that stays exactly the same over like a 5-year period, that course is going to be outdated. So that's going to be specific to your industry, obviously. But you could sell a course on Teachable, on Skillshare, on Kajabi. And then you have both physical and software products. Physical products, I think, have a ton of upside, but are a lot more difficult to pull off. You have to obviously find manufacturers. You have to go through the details and designs. And to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience in this form outside of our own like personal merch journey there and getting like high quality products for that. So I won't speak too much on physical products, but you see a lot of creators do it. It's a path that involves a lot of time, energy, and money. So probably not for the beginning creator. And I would say that for the same thing as software. Now, software, in my opinion, is the future of content creators. The combination of software with having a large following, to me, is so clearly the highest upside return. But another thing that takes a lot of time, a lot of money, you're going to make a ton of mistakes. You don't know what the fuck you're looking for, but easily the most upside. But you have to have a lot of money to invest because making software, making product is expensive. The people that know how to do it charge a lot of money. And the ones that are really good at it charge a lot of money. So when I think about selling products through information, like what you're doing is you're doing one of two things. You are either selling the information that you have gathered in an organized fashion, PDF, booklet, whatever, or you're selling access to yourself, whereas you could take that information and make it more personalized or contextual to that person. When we move on to the next two sections, we have entertainment. If you're someone that gives out entertainment value or motivational value, I think there's a lot of overlap between the two. I don't think people like make content for the most part to be motivational. I think they just kind of like talk about the thing that they like, and then over a long period of time, people find it motivational. But when I look at entertainment, these are very, very different, right? Because you have to ask yourself, why are people coming to my content? What about the content is something that resonates with them? And then you need to figure out a way to monetize that feeling. People in the entertainment industry, I actually think, whereas information I think is much easier to monetize and much easier to have a higher floor. And I do think there will be a lot of people that end up having a really high ceiling with the informational plus software package. I think overall, creators that are entertainers have the highest overall ceiling. When I think of entertainment content, what I've seen work, merch. Merch works really well for creators or brands that have built a following through entertainment, especially if you put some like work and passion into the merch and you design it well and it fits what you're doing. That shit sells very, very well. Merch does not sell well for informational creators. I think this is something I see a lot where it's like creators who have built a following through teaching people and then try to sell merch. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work well. Entertainers can sell merch. Entertainers can sell tickets to live events as well. Much more difficult to pull off. But you see that. Like, that's the reason why comedians put stand-up clips and then are able to sell their shows. That's the reason why you see a lot of entertainers on TikTok become comedians. They weren't comedians, but they were funny on TikTok, and now they've kind of like segued into that path. I also think physical products works really well for entertainers too, because what they do as entertainers is they actually do build a community. Like, people go to them for comfort. People go to them to laugh. People go to them to feel super relatable. Whereas like informational creators aren't necessarily a safe space. Like, you go there with learning in mind. And I think with entertainers, you do feel a sense of community, sense of relatability. And because of that, you want to be part of that community. And if a creator is good, if they have a little bit of business savvy, they're able to like build on that community aspect and build a product for that community. You could think of like any number of creators that have made it big and then sold products. And again, I do think the physical products or the software stuff comes with having a floor of financial investment that you can make. Physical products and software products are difficult to get to. Like, you have to put in years of work, I think, monetarily in order to get to this spot. But if you do think of, look at the Nelk Boys with Happy Dad, they have a very college, like frat boy type of community. I think a membership could work really well in this too, and it's a little bit more content focused. This is where I think putting a piece of content behind a paywall makes sense, where people are like dying to get that next episode, where they're like, I don't really care what the thing is. With an informational teacher or content creator, people come for that specific learning lesson, right? They're like, add a video because they're like, oh, I saw the title and I need to learn, or I want to learn about this. Whereas entertainment, you have your favorite podcast and you're going to listen to it regardless of like what the topic is. So if you're going to make an extra piece of content a week, I'm going to listen to it regardless of whether or not I resonate with the topic, because I like the creator. Having a membership that has an extra piece of content, weekly, daily, monthly, whatever it is, makes sense. I've seen a lot of podcasters or creators do, ad free if you sign up for the membership, which I think works pretty well. Early access to content. Overall, people are just dying to like be in a community that feels relatable to them and the problems that they're going through, and they just want more of it. So if you're an entertainer, people just want more of the thing that you're doing. And you could do that in person with a live event, but it's not like information where you can't package what you're teaching. So if like a comedian were to start selling courses or classes about how to be a better comedian, like maybe it will sell, but the audience that he's built up is just people that think he's funny. It's not people that want to become a comedian. Sure, I follow Andrew Schultz or whoever it is, right? If he sells a course, I'm not buying that. Like, I'm not trying to be a comedian. I just like his stand-up. And if he has a show in my area, I'm gonna go buy tickets to. The motivational value set, which I think, again, merch, I think works really well. I think eventually if you're like motivational enough, you will get pulled in for speaking gigs. You'll talk to companies, more B2B stuff, or speaking at conferences, stuff like that. But that's a little bit tougher. But I do think, again, for the most part, people don't really start out as motivational speakers. It kind of results as everything they've done before then. So it's a natural progression up to there. And I think there's a lot of like combination type of monetization that goes into this as well, that overlaps some of these categories. Like, one, of course, again, is the platform payment, right? You have Google AdSense, which you have the TikTok creator program. Those are the two that are like top of mind in terms of like, you're really getting paid for high volume and decent payments for what you're actually putting in. But again, if you're not putting out authentic original content, that's going to run dry for you very quickly. Brand partnerships and affiliate marketing work very well. You also have to make sure that you align, obviously, your content, your value with the thing that you're trying to sell. Trying to sell random lifestyle products on an informational value channel is tough. I've done that before. Through our fantasy football channel, I've worked with companies like Manscaped and Felix Gray and whatever. And the campaigns were fine, but like weren't over the top. In the entertainment space, lifestyle type of sponsorships work very well. For the information space, the thing that you're advertising has to be very, very specific to those sets of people. Like, being in the fantasy football space, I have to sell or work with brands and partners and affiliates that sell a product, service, or fix a problem within the fantasy space. Otherwise, it's not going to convert. So I hope that made sense. I know it just went off for quite a while, and I did not structure this video well. That always happens with me with this. I'm like, there are so many points that I want to hit on, and then I just like get halfway through, writing notes or thinking about like a script or direction for it, and then by point 3, 4, 5, there's actually nothing there, so I start to riff, and then we're at that point of the video. So mistake number 3 is not trying. And again, what I mean by that is not necessarily being lazy. I just think you don't know or you're unaware of what to do next. If you have built through an information avenue, I would try to make my own product first, without a doubt. And it doesn't need to be this high stakes physical product. You don't need a software team behind you to build it out. You could start with a membership where all of these platforms, Patreon, Gumroad, whatever, I want you to start low stakes and build up from there, get your feet wet with selling, and then you can go. And you're probably asking again, what can I sell? And I would think of it in one of two ways. Can I just neatly, aesthetically organize what I'm already doing? Can I look at the people that I'm helping and make it even faster and better and sexier and easier for them to consume the best parts of what I'm doing? That would be the first thing. Number 2, a product from just pure inspiration. You are your best customer. You have a really good feel of what's needed in the space. Keep going back to having taste. You have to feel like this feels right to me. Like this is something I'd be proud to sell. This is something I would be really proud to build, pitch, and sell to someone. That always has felt like a really, really strong direction for me. When I feel like, oh, I have this awesome product in mind, I want to build it out, I want to sell it, that almost always feels like the right direction. And it might not always be like a great product fit for the audience right away, but you can talk to them after you get it up and running and get their feedback on things. And not everything needs to be this crazy package. You could start very, very small. And I would even say that most products that work the best solve one very specific problem. Think about it this way. Almost every single website that I pay a monthly membership for, there is one, maybe two extremely specific parts of that software or that website that I go to daily, and almost none of the other shit that I use. So I would look at it like, if I got rid of this one feature, it would probably tank us 80 to 90% of the people that came to purchase this membership. Think about it that way and figure out what that one feature is. You could be great by being great at one thing, but being good or average at a million things is not in demand. So I would find something that really inspires you. I would find something that you feel like you would be really fucking proud to build and sell. And I would start from there and then build up. Not everything needs to be really high stakes from the rip with a ton of options and a ton of features and a ton of this and that, because you need to be really good at the first thing first before you extend yourself to something else. Having a problem with thing number 1 is not solved by starting thing number 2. Solving the problem of thing number 1 happens by solving the problem of thing number 1. It ain't that deep. No one's going to approach you and have a membership for you. No one's going to build a product for you. You have to go out and get it, all right? With brand deals and sponsorship, very big part of creators monetizing. I think general rule of thumb, you're going to want to try to monetize internally as much as possible. Having your own product or membership, regardless of what information or entertainment or whatever the fuck you're doing, the more disattached you can be from relying on brand partnerships, the better. I understand that's not the reality of the situation for most companies, most brands, most creators. A lot of them make their money through sponsorships, but I would say never really lose sight of that North Star. Just because you're getting paid from a sponsor a lot of money, I would not take my foot off the pedal as it relates to internal product building. And that goes for any creator on any platform at any point of their journey. But for brand sponsorships, again, this is one of those where people think it comes to them, and that could not be further from the truth. Almost every big deal that I've signed, almost every partnership that I've done, even ones that I have very long-lasting relationships with very big companies, almost all of them have started with me or someone internally at my team reaching out to that brand and pitching us. Some of them come to you. 99% of the people that come to you, though, are spam, are trash, are companies that you don't want to work with or will not give you a good rate. You have to go find and identify the companies that you want to work with, go fucking stalk them, email them, hit them on LinkedIn, find the growth manager on Instagram and DM them there. They're all human beings. And if they like your content, they're going to answer you. And if they think they can get value from advertising in your content and then you crush it for them, it's a beautiful partnership. So when I say not trying, it simply comes down to like things don't come to you. You have to go out and get them. You're going to eat what you kill in the creator economy. And then when you get really good, you will start learning the tricks of the trade and you will start learning ways to make money on a week over week, month over month, year over year basis. And you can experiment with that. But until then, you must sharpen your spears. I know this was a long video. We had a lot to get off our chests here. So just to recap, 3 mistakes that I commonly see that I think almost every creator who has a large following but cannot make money off of it falls into the category. 1, you make trash, repurpose, non-branded, trend focus, clickbait, high engagement, farming content. And I've got news for you. If you've built a big following from that, you're not entitled to a fucking thing. So just because you have that does not mean that now if you start creating valuable content tomorrow, those people that were on board for that shitty content you made are not going to trickle over to that new content. You're basically at square one, at root one of your creator journey because you started and did it the wrong way from the start. Mistake number 2 is not attaching the correct product or service with the actual value that you are giving off to your audience. The product has to match that. What are they here for? And then how do I deliver that in an even better way to the audience? Okay. Understanding why your audience is there, understanding the value prop that they're getting from hanging out with you for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And then number 3 is not trying. You're just not going out and getting it, probably because you've been misled or you feel like brands just come to you. It ain't the case. Products don't come to you. Brands don't come to you. You got to go get it. If you have any other topics that you want me to touch on, drop them in the comments as always. I will see you on the next video I make, whenever that may be. I do it for the love of the game. We don't do it for free. We do it for freedom. I'm out of here. Smoochies.